Hi, I'm Kelly Florence,
And I'm Meg Hafdahl.
and welcome to BookFest 2023. We are the co authors of 6 books in the Science of Horror book series, and we happen to be best friends.
Yeah, we want to talk to you today about what it's like writing together with your best friend. Whether you're planning on doing that or you're planning on maybe writing with someone else, maybe you barely know. But I have to show our latest book, The Science of Agatha Christie. Isn't it beautiful, Kelly?
I absolutely love it. And speaking of writing, what a prolific writer she was.
Yes. I would have liked to see her maybe do some co-writing with some people. That would have been fun. But
Absolutely.
she had her like she knew what she was doing, so it probably would have been very intimidating to write with her, I'm guessing.
We want to talk to you a little bit about our process. And as I mentioned, we are best friends. So I think that that helps. But I think that we have some advice for you, whether you know your co writer or not. The first is to be on the same page, literally and figuratively in the beginning, because you need to know what your strategy is, what your plan is, and make sure that you're not stepping on each other's toes or doubling up on the work.
Yeah, so we come from a place where we've written nonfiction together and we've also written screenplays together. So we know what it's like to write sort of that fiction, having that creative sense, and also nonfiction, which is creative as well, but it has a lot of research aspects to it. So, Kelly, do you want to tell them kind of how we sort of outline a nonfiction project?
Absolutely. So when we started writing, we wrote every single thing together for every single chapter when we began because we wanted to make sure we were on the same page, using the same voice, and it would be cohesive. As we're working on our 8th book, we have learned that we can split up the work evenly, very clearly, and each work on chapters at the same time, and we don't overlap because we have clear communication.
Yeah, I think communication is key, which kind of sounds like, trite, but it really is true. Kelly and I email each other, text each other, FaceTime each other. And that's why I think working with someone that you have a good rapport with is so important. It doesn't have to be your best friend. That's nice. But if it's somebody that you feel comfortable talking with and doing things with, that's so important. So if you are maybe interested in doing a collaborative project, I would recommend get to know them. Like it sounds kind of like, oh yeah, 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 but really like spend time with them, understand how they like to, be communicated with. Like some people don't like a phone call out of the blue. Some people don't want to hear from you after 9 p.m., even though you have something on your mind. So really get to know that person. Thankfully, like we said, Kelly and I know each other really well. So she's not too annoyed when I call her late, right?
Not at all. The other thing is to be open to feedback. As you get to know someone, whether it's through fiction or nonfiction and you're writing together, if you're not both excited about it, then maybe that's not the right route to go down. Sometimes we find things in our research that lead us down a rabbit hole, and it might be really interesting to one of us in the moment, but then when we tell the other person and we reflect on it, will our readers really be into this? And if we're both not excited about it, we put a stop to it.
Yeah, I think that, there's maybe some hesitance about doing a collaborative project because you're worried about maybe like the level of control you're going to have, or if you're going to get into tiffs or fights. And, I think that when you as a writer start putting your work out there, you start getting used to getting red marks on your work and getting people who maybe don't like certain ideas or don't like certain ways you write. And I think it's important to sort of build that, I don't want to say shell around you, but kind of you kind of have to have a little tough exterior sometimes when you're in the writing world, right? I mean, we've all been there. And so having that helps when you then bring on a partner to work with, because you need to be able to hear what they have to say and maybe not be super emotional about it. It's okay to be a little bit, but I think it's really good to understand that people are only trying to help you. And Kelly and I definitely, like, we have now kind of a language with each other. We understand each other, but that's something that will come over time. As she mentioned, we're on our 8th book, so we've been doing this for a while, but that is something that's going to come along for you.
And something we've learned on our journey is through meeting other people, how they collaborate. We've been able to work in some writers' rooms where you have more than 6 people all working on the same story. And that's very different than solitarily working by yourself. Also, we've been able to interview some people like Richard Chismar, who co-wrote with Stephen King, and learned about their process. And for them, they weren't in the same room at the same time. They sat in their separate places and sent back their manuscript and added onto it. And we had never even considered doing that before.
Yeah, we Kelly and I live 4 hours from each other. So when we're doing our research and things like that, we do write separately and use that communication, as we said. But when we are writing a script, like something really creative and fiction, we like to be together because we kind of feed off of each other. So we were surprised when Richard Chismar was like, I write a section and then I send it to Stephen King and he writes a section. And Kelly, that makes me think of like being intimidated by Agatha Christie to write with her. I would be very intimidated to write with Stephen King. Not that you aren't at his level,
Oh,
but I feel like he has made, he has made obviously a name for himself. So if you're in a situation where maybe there's somebody who is in your partnership who maybe like knows a lot more about one thing and you know a lot about another thing, and you feel intimidated by that, don't just be excited that collaboratively you're bringing so many things together.
the other thing that we've discovered writing together, even though we live far apart, is that technology has been our friend. Like Meg mentioned, we use FaceTime, we use text, of course, we'll email. But if we can go in at the same time on a document or work together via Zoom or in a Google Doc, it's so nice to be able to work in real time together and see it. Because sometimes when we're working together, I'll read something out loud to Meg, and she's like, "No, no, I got to see it," because some of us are visual learners, and some of us can just hear it. And so it's nice as a reader and a writer to be able to look at it, say it out loud sometimes, and then see if it works.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think of our editing process, because that is something we do together. Sometimes there's like boring copy edits where you have to put a period in and we don't need to be together for that. But certainly when we're doing that sort of developmental edit in the beginning, whether it's nonfiction or whether it's one of our screenplays, we have to be together and we love to say it out loud. And yes, I'm a visual person. I like to see the words on a page. That really helps me sort of like figure out if I like the look of it or not. And that's the thing, is finding your strengths and weaknesses. I always like joke like Kelly's a lot more organized than I am, and it's true. But I also bring things to the table that maybe necessarily she didn't think of. So again, it's about figuring out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and actually like you can come into it and maybe not even know what they are yet, and this process is going to like bring it out and show you what those are. And I guess with the strengths it's a little more fun to find out, but that's okay because the weaknesses you need to know too. And that's why you have a partner. That's what's so great about this, is we get to do this with each other, and that means like everything that we experience together. And writing can be such a solitary introverted sort of world, and so it's so fun to have a partner.
Absolutely. Going back to when we met and how we began writing, we both discovered that we loved the horror genre. We love scary things, and we both loved to write creatively. The other thing that we found out we had in common, and we use a lot in our nonfiction books, is research. Meg and I are the type of people who would rather be in a dark, dusty library researching than be out on the beach. I'm sorry, but
No,
that's what we
it's true. Yeah, that's
that's
true.
what we would rather do. And so we realized we both had that strength of liking research and going down those rabbit holes and discovering topics and looking at especially the genre of horror through a lens that no one hadn't looked through it before, which is science. And we discovered that, hey, this is something that we both enjoy doing. And we, again, at it with our own strengths, but this was the perfect fit for us.
Yeah, you know, that comes like to something I really wanted to talk about, which is passion. There's no reason to write about something you're not passionate about. We don't get into the writing world to make millions and billions and trillions of dollars. I really think it's about doing what makes you excited, and I think that that is where you need to absolutely start. So if you're like, wow, this person has a lot, they know a lot about birds. I don't like birds, but I'm gonna like glob onto their project, I don't think that's going to go very well. But if you're passionate about bird watching, then what a great project for you to learn more if you're intrigued by it. So I think passion is absolutely at the center of where you need to like lead yourself. And also don't work with people who maybe you don't vibe with. I know that again that sounds kind of trite, but it's really true. This is quite a partnership and there are ups and downs, and there's a lot of communication that has to be had. So, make sure that you're choosing someone that you definitely feel like they're on the same page as you.
And we've heard from other people in the screenplay world, when they're assembling a writer's room, it's these are people that are going to become, your coworkers and almost like family because you're spending so much time with them. Same thing with a co-writer. You're spending a lot of time together, whether it's in person or just on the page, and so you want to make sure that you get along. Also, when we were talking about researching, and if you get bored with a topic, we can also get bored with a plot line in fiction. And if you're not excited about writing it, people aren't going to be excited to read it either.
And that's what's again great about having a partner. Of course, there are things that can be difficult sometimes. Like there have been times where Kelly and I have accidentally written something very similar about a certain topic, and we've kind of had to we kind of wasted time because we didn't communicate. So there are little things like that that happen along the way, but overall, it's such a great thing to do. And I have my fiction writing that I do. Kelly's a teacher, so we have our own like personal pursuits, and so it's so great to be able to come together and share this pursuit of something that we love. And that's horror for us, and research and being in dusty libraries, as Kelly said. We definitely found our writing soulmate. And so I really encourage you to look for yours. It's a great time.
Also, it's a nice excuse to be able to send a text message to someone saying, "Hey, did you write about vampires or levitation yet?" And it won't make sense to anybody else except your writing partner. So,
That's
worth
right.
it.
So good luck, everybody.
Yes.